for having me. The Cicero's Beer School is a big to-do in our craft beer world here in St. Louis, and I'm proud to be a part of it, and I thank these guys for having me. Is there any questions you guys have about Cathedral Square right out of the gate that anyone's dying to know? Say it again. Where are we? Who are we? My name is Brian Neville, and I've been a professional brewer for 21 years. I started in Kansas City washing kegs in 91. In 94, I started working for a tank manufacturer out of Canada, and we did over 15, 16 installs of brew pubs in the late 90s throughout the country. From there, 1999, I was hired by Spanish Peaks Brewing, which were the makers of Black Dog Ale out of Montana. We had a California brewery, and we did co-packing on the East Coast. By 2006, 2007, we were over a million case brand in 41 states, producing almost a million cases of beer by the turn of the century. So in 2009, we sold Black Dog Ale to U.S. Beverage, which is a large beverage marketing company out of New York. And they bought Black Dog Ale and took over all the production and all the brewing. So I was able to move back home. I was born and raised in Belleville. And I moved back home in 2009. And in 2010, we started brewing Cathedral Square beers. So where are we is a good question. We initially bought the Playboy Club on Lindell, which is at Lindell and Vandeventer. And our dream was to rehab the building and open a brew pub. We put in a 7-barrel system and we started brewing kegs, but the city was very uncooperative with our plans. The building was not grandfathered as a restaurant, so they wanted us to fire protect 3 floors, 30,000 square feet. The elevator in the building was like from the 50s, so they wanted that fixed. So we backed off that property. We've been co-packing at Crown Valley Brewing for the last year. So our beers are made down there, and I'm down there 3 to 4 days a week producing our beers in their brewery. Go ahead.
Back to the Playboy Club.
Yep.
What happened? You guys must have sunk a bunch. Somebody put a bunch of money into that, and it was open for a little bit, wasn't it?
It was. From what I understand, the guys that sunk all the money into that building, the guy wrote some bad real estate checks, and the banks came and locked him out. And my boss bought the building with everything in it shortly after they closed that. So that's how.
So it's still sitting there?
It's still sitting there empty. It's become a catch-all for all of our other projects. Our boss, Dr. Pata, he's the patron saint of lost cause buildings. And I don't know if you've been to any of our other spots, but we have Diablitos, which is down by Slough. We have. Yes. We have Sanctuaria in the Grove. We have Cafe Ventana, which is New Orleans style bistro, also by Slough. And we just opened Hendrick's Barbecue in St. Charles on the Landing. So we're actually working on Hendrick's 2, which will be in Edwardsville. So, yes, sir. Pardon? The beers, 90% of our beers made down at Crown Valley. Crown Valley Brewing in St. Genevieve. Right, we've partnered up with those guys on a couple other ventures. We're bringing a moonshine to market soon. So we have a good partnership with those guys down there. And it's close.
At the beginning, you came from somewhere north. I don't know your place. Did you come here with the same owner?
Yes.
And where did he come from?
He's a St. Louis guy. He was actually part of anesthesiology at Children's Hospital for years.
I went in there and I got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
When he first came here.
He's from here, so, you know.
He made beer up north in Michigan.
Who's that?
I forgot his name.
Huh.
What is your owner's name?
Our owner's name is Gabriel Pata. Dr. Pata. He's well known here in St. Louis, really close with the the folks at Slough. And that's why we're kind of focusing on the Midtown area. So, you know, he's a lot of St. Louis roots here for our company, and you know, we're just local guys trying to make it in a big world. Yep.
Is your beer on tap there?
Yes. Yeah, there's 3, sometimes 4 beers on tap. They don't do any Bud Miller Coors there. It's all locally brewed beers. You can probably get a Stag in there if you're lucky. And and really good moonshines. That's what our focus is at Hendrick's, is the moonshine. So I've been handed the white ale. Oh, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, since you have all these different restaurant ventures going, is a lot of your brewing geared towards pairing with your menus, or?
You know, not yet. Not yet. And what I was leading into is we just bought the Holy Corners Second Baptist Church at Kings Highway in McPherson. We closed on that property at the beginning of the year, and we're pushing the plans through to rehab that church into a brew pub. So it's been a really slow go. It really has. I mean, it was built in 1907, and it's federally, historically registered as long as state registered. So we're jumping through the hoops of, nothing's been in there since the 50s, and it's a big project for us. So, you know, it's going to take some time, but Kings Highway in McPherson. Right. It was called the Second Baptist Church at the Holy Corners. So it fits our Cathedral Square theme really well. So onward with...
Hold on the question, maybe we can start.
Onward with the beers. The first beer we're drinking tonight is our white ale. It's a Belgian wit. It has orange peel, no coriander. We stayed away from the coriander. I thought it was, coriander bitters the beer a little too much. We were using the Celis White yeast strain, and light, easy drinking, our session beer. We just launched it in 6-packs this year, and it's typical wit beer. Light, easy to drink, sessionable, tart, all the good characteristics that typical white ales have. Cheers. We're doing border states right now. We have Illinois, Missouri, all over the state of Missouri, Nebraska. We're shipping some beer to South Carolina this year, and that's pretty much it. We're not trying to be huge. We're trying to make great beers and keep them as close to home as we can. We sell 80% of our beer right here in St. Louis. So, and you can find us in any of the Schnucks, Shop and Saves, Deerbergs, Friar Tuck's, Lucas Liquor, Randall's, any place where you find good craft beer, we're there. And with that said, I want to introduce Jared Gardner over here. He's our man in the streets, man. He's the one that gets you to the beer to the liquor stores. So. Yeah.
What temperature do you ferment this at? And did you play around with fermentation at different temperatures to get different flavor profiles on the wit?
Well, I test brewed several different yeast strains, and we're hitting about 70 on our fermentation temperatures on this beer. This is a turn and burn beer for us. I mean, it's done in 12, 13 days and served fresh. I mean, it's not one of those beers you need to age or condition for a long period of time for it to mature. It's a wheat beer. It's better fresh, and like I said, we're turning this beer in 13, 14 days.
Hey Brian, if you could repeat questions again, just so.
Okay.
Different temperatures as far as changing flavor profile.
We did not. His question was, did we play around with different fermentation temperatures for different flavor profiles? I'm really tight with my yeast guy. They bank a lot of good yeast cultures where I'm buying from, and they recommend certain temperatures for these different yeast strains to perform the best. So, we kind of go with what the lab guys tell us to do, because we're just humble brewers. They're the smart guys with the microscope. So we kind of follow their instructions the best we can. Sir?
How did you get your name?
Cathedral Square? When we bought the Playboy Club, we were fishing around for names, and the boss's brother, when they were building the new cathedral back in the day, after it was Gaslight Square, that area was called Cathedral Square. because our building is literally like 2 blocks from the Cathedral Basilica on Lindell. So that's why we decided to do Cathedral Square. And I've got the whole Bible to pick beer names from, so, that doesn't hurt in our marketing campaign either. Promoting the good word of the Lord through beer, I mean, can't go wrong with that, man.
Pretty good lead into this beer.
Okay. Gabriel is the next beer we're drinking. This is a new release for us. We have a Belgian IPA called Hail Mary in our 6-packs. And it's a Belgian style IPA. So with the popularity of American IPAs and the direction that segment and category is going, we decided to put out an American IPA of ourselves. And this is our interpretation of that. We call it Gabriel. Gabriel was the patron saint of messengers and one of the archangels. And our message here, if you look at our labels, he's coming down with the wings carrying hops in his hand. So our message here is hops, 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 hops. Yes, ma'am. This one it's mainly a bulk Centennial beer. Centennial, what hops do we use? This is a Centennial IPA. The majority of the hops in this beer are Centennial. We're also using Millennium, Chinook, and also Columbus. Thank you. I get confused sometimes.
Dry hop with any of them?
We do dry hop with all of them. Yep. On a 15 barrel batch, we're dry hopping about 10 pounds total. So we're splitting it up, 2.5 pounds of each on the dry hop.
So what are the IBUs?
IBUs on this beer are a little over 110. It ranges between 110 and 120.
Okay.
Right. And it's an 8% beer. So, it's got a lot of malt backbone to it. It's a big beer. And, it competes well with all the other great IPAs that all the other St. Louis brewers are doing. I mean, you guys are blessed right now in St. Louis. We just haven't been recognized for it yet, but you've got a good collection of brewers here in St. Louis right now that are brewing some amazing beers, So we're just trying to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Can you tell us, Brian, if it's the Hail Mary, are we drinking, it's not a double IPA, it's an imperial IPA?
It's an imperial IPA. Well, I mean, with the way everything's going now, I mean, there are no lines in the sand as far as imperials. I mean, most people are wanting a 6, 7, 8% IPA. 10 years ago, yeah, that was considered an imperial. Today, it's like the standard for an IPA to be 7, 8% alcohol. So the Belgian IPA that we're using, we're doing is brewed with a Belgian Trappist yeast strain. So it has a different flavor profile. It's a little sweeter. It's not as hoppy. It's not as in-your-face hops. It's more mellow, and it's a little easier to drink on a sessionable side. What do you think?
It doesn't taste like 110, it tastes like you do 40.
It's a big beer. It's a big beer. It's a big beer. Yep.
Could you tell me the IBUs on the first one?
The white ale, off the top of my head, somewhere around 20 to 30. Yeah, really low. We're using Tettnanger hops in the white ale. Yep, and we're using locally ground orange peel. We get it from McCarthy Spice. I buy all my spices from McCarthy Spice. I try to stay as local as I can. And some of the wheat that we're using in the beer is grown over in Illinois. So
Do you have a local maltster?
we buy all of our malt from Wisconsin. Yep, Breeze Malting. Yep. I've been loyal to them for 20 years. The freight's cheap. They're good at what they do, and I have a good relationship with them. They're a good malting house. Yes, sir.
On this IPA, you do like a 60-minute boil, like the Centennials, and then dry hop Columbus?
90-minute boil. He asked how long we boil in the beer. We're boiling this beer 90 minutes. And our boil times also depend on our extraction. What we're getting, out of our wort going to the kettle kind of depends on how long we boil. But typically this beer is boiled for 90 minutes. Off the top of my head, without looking at a brew sheet, there's probably 7 different editions. So you have Centennial, a big, huge Centennial, bomb in the front. And then we're doing Centennial, Columbus, Millennium, Chinook. So we're pitching different hops at different times of the boil. And then we hammer it with Centennial in the whirlpool, like almost 30 pounds on 15 barrels.
Like 50%, like 15 or higher alpha.
Yeah. Millennium is probably the highest alpha that we're using in that beer. But yeah, we're hammering it really hard. And they're all late additions. We have our one, addition in the beginning to balance, the maltiness. But then it's all later additions, 40-minute, 50-minute, 60-minute, 70-minute, for more flavor and more aroma. And then we're doing the dry hopping, for a lot of the aroma characters in the beer. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, but did you say that you add dried orange peel to this?
To the white ale, we do. To the first beer you had.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
To the first beer you had. Yep.
And then, can you tell me what kind of malt you use for the Gabriel?
Malts in the Gabriel, pretty simple. 2-row barley, Bolander Munich, which is a Munich malt, for the mouthfeel and the the heaviness of the mouthfeel, and then Crystal 40, Caramel 40.
It's got a really nice caramelly overtone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Caramel 40. Yep, there's a lot of that in there. A lot of that. Yep. Yes, sir.
So I've seen you brew a beer with Schmaltz Brewing Company. Who sought out who made that and why?
Okay. His question is, he saw that we were brewing with a collaboration with Schmaltz. Jeremy and I from Schmaltz are good friends. We've known each other 15, 20 years. And him and I were sitting on a bar stool in New York together, and I'm like, dude, we got to do something. Jewish beer, Catholic beer, come on. And he's like, okay, what do you got? And I'm like, and I'd been thinking about it, before I approached him with it, and I came up with the term immaculate collaboration. And he loved it. So then he asked me, what beer do you want to do? And I thought, well, let's just do one you're already killing it with, which was his Lenny's. And we used our Belgian yeast from our Abbey Ale and our Belgian IPA in his Lenny's IPA. So we called it St. Lenny. And we actually have another, we have another beer in motion right now. He went ahead, he had a lot of success with St. Lenny on the East Coast. So he brewed that again this year. But he came to Missouri and we brewed his Jubilation 10. And then he shipped me Funky Jubilation, which is his Brett beer, from New York. He sent me the barrels from New York. And we have barrels aging right now. We're going to call it Saint Jubilation. So we're going to release that on draft only in December. And it's a Belgian sour rye because it's aged in rye barrels. Yep. Because the Brett remaining in the barrels soured the beer when he shipped them here. So beyond our control, we had no idea, when you're messing with Brett and whiskey barrels, you just don't really know what's going to happen, with that. So it's coming along really good, and we're going to pull it from the barrels in December, and there'll be, places like Cicero's, and we're going to release it in draft only, and we're going to bottle it for him, and he's only going to sell it in his tasting room in New York. So it's going to be pretty exclusive because it's such a small batch. But
What are you calling it again?
Saint Jubilation. So yeah, that's an ongoing friendship between two beer geeks from 20 years ago, man.
So, are you using wild Brett, or are you using the laboratory specific?
We're using whatever was left growing in his Funky Jubilation barrels when he sent me the barrels. It's a Belgian rye beer, aging in rye barrels, but the rye barrels had Brett in them. So we're just letting it go.
It's a very aggressive yeast.
Yeah.
It's going to eat everything. So do you pasteurize?
Well, that's why I'm doing mine in draft, and yes, I'm going to pasteurize his bottles before we send them up to New York to stop that growth.
So, but you're not going to pasteurize your...
The draft, no. Once we chill it, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll stop doing what it's doing.
Well, it's because I always look at it, can I age that? And if it's unpasteurized...
If it's unpasteurized, it's just going to go crazy. Right, it's just going to get more sour and more sour. Some people like that. Some people like that,
We can move on to we have the whole boiling
Oh, moving on. Moving on. So you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll let you know when the St. Jubilation hits, certain beer bars here in St. Louis, but we're not going to have much of it. So just follow us on Facebook. You'll know. Holy Moly Imperial Stout. It is what it says. I mean, it's a big 9%, 130 IBU Imperial Stout. So, cheers.
So what, if anything, are you guys smelling and tasting?
Coffee. Malty, a little caramel. It's really creamy, almost like an oatmeal stout.
We're using some flaked oats in it. Yeah, but not enough to where we would call it an oatmeal stout, because it's big. It's a lot of alcohol, a lot of chocolate malt, a lot of roasted barley in this beer. And it's a one hop beer. No, actually two. Chinook and Centennial are the two hops in this beer. And all these, this beer, Gabriel, are sold in the 22-ounce bombers, $6.99, $7.49 at the most. So, my thing is, hey, I could put a $10 price tag on our beers, but I got to get you good folks drinking them before you'll pay $10 a bottle. So, 7 works really good. A lot better than 10. Yes, ma'am.
I really like a good mouthfeel on my beers. I don't mind hoppy beers at all. I really enjoy them, but I could die of thirst drinking them. So it's blowing me away on the IBUs of these last 2 beers.
Well,
they have such a great malty mouthfeel.
Yeah, we're using, the Munich malts and some of the caramel malts are the unfermentables, and they stick around. They don't ferment away. So they hang around, and, the flake notes have a lot to do with that. And the other thing that has a lot to do with the mouthfeel of our beers is Crown Valley has an RO filter. So they're reverse osmosing all of their waters down there in St. Genevieve. And that's really big on, the mash profiles and the flavor profiles of the mashes. I mean, it has a lot to do, the water has a lot to do with what you're getting right now. So.
Is their water alkaline?
They're well water. They run on a well, and that's why they're scrubbing it, and they're removing the chlorine, any chlorines that may be in it, any of the minerals, and then doing their reverse osmosis. Okay. So you can't get any better water than that, So that has a lot to do with the mouthfeel of the beers and the mash profile, the pH. We monitor the pH really closely. That's why you're getting the good glass lace on the beers. Right.
So is it alkaline or acid or neutral?
Neutral. Yes, sir.
No brewery, are you going to brew your beer up here now?
Yeah, well, we'll still brew some beer down at Crown Valley.
Because it's different in the water there and it's different in the water here.
We'll do the same thing here. I'll push for RO water here. Yep. And St. Louis has some of the best water on the planet. AB controls the water here in St. Louis, so don't think they don't have some of the best water on the planet right here.
I know what RO water is because I keep saltwater aquariums. For the rest of us who don't, can you explain that?
Reverse osmosis is basically their light striking the water to remove any minerals, any alkalines, any acids and making the water completely neutral. And I'm not a water guy, so if you could add to that in any way.
It does exactly. It removes any traces of
Right.
particles.
It purifies the water.
NO2.
No minerals, right? No O2, no nothing. It's the purest water that you can get. So I'm happy to have that option down at Crown Valley. Plus, they're good guys to work with. So.
And I can't imagine. A system, an RO system just for your home for doing is expensive. I cannot imagine how expensive a system.
Yeah,
puts out, and it's a very, it's a slow process.
It is very slow. Yep, they've got a separate tank that they RO the water into. Then they pull from that for the brewery. Yep. So.
That makes sense.
Oh boy.
Okay, on the Holy Moly, what's the IBUs on that?
IBU is about 130. Yeah.
You know,
It's big.
profiles are really holding down the apparent IBUs, I would say, were less.
7 malts in the Holy Moly?
Yeah.
7 malts.
Wow.
Yep. 2 row Munich, 3 crystals, roasted barley, and chocolate. And then we're using the flaked oats. We don't really call that a grain. That's basically for mouthfeel and texture of the beer, smoothness of the beer, softness of the beer. So yeah, it's a lot going on in that recipe.
And it doesn't taste that hot?
No. But you got to have that when the balance is key. I mean, right.
Very nice.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I shouldn't ask this,
But she shouldn't ask this, but
when you finally open up that church, are you gonna have like services on Sunday?
believe it or not, we've already received emails from local pastors wanting us to perform services. Even right now, with the building the way it is, they found out we were the new owners. So
Have these kind of services?
I'm going to say Sunday brunch maybe is a service, but I'm not the chef, so I won't overstep my boundaries at all. Ave Maria. This is our latest release. This beer is a 10% Belgian ale, aged in 20-year-old Elijah Craig whiskey barrels, with 20 pounds of French Morello cherries in each barrel for 7 months. So this is kind of our baby right now, if you will, of the fall season. Last year we did 5 barrels, just as a test, because I mean you've got a lot of money wrapped up in whiskey barrels and cherries. The cherries are almost $30 a pound, and they come straight from France. And we loved the beer last year. We sold it on draft in very few places. So this year we went all in. We did 15 whiskey barrels. So, you know, over 300 pounds of cherries. You can do the math. This is what became of it. So it's in cork caged champagne bottles right now. Schnooks, Deerbergs. Not Deerbergs yet. Hopefully soon. But Lucas Liquor, you know, Randall's, Wine and Cheese Place, you know, all the places that have really good beers, this beer is in. So it's kind of our, you know, special release of the fall.
So I'm going to say this smells and tastes like it should be a really good beer to lay a few up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's Belgian. It's 10%. Right, it's aged 8 months already in the barrel, so you know it's not going to get anything but better with time. So if you do pick up a few bottles, absolutely put it down in the cellar, put it in the fridge. Fridge won't hurt either to keep it cold, you know, and let it age 6 months. We held back 20 cases for ourselves for next year, so we can't wait till next year. Sir.
Have you considered trying to do like a creek or something like that?
Not yet. Just for a minute with a different yeast strain, you know, to give it more bubbles and, you know, champagne it up a little bit, you know. But yeah, it fits that category, no doubt. Sir.
Have any of these beers entered contests?
No, I mean, well, I did throw the Holy Moly into the JBF ring this year, but, you know, I'm kind of not about that, man. You know, I've 20 years, I've got 7 GABF medals and 2 World Beer Cups to my credit. So, you know, it's so hard for me to see what 20 years ago the GABF was all about and what they're judging now. I mean, they're judging 3,700 beers in 4 days. So, you know, it's great to get them, and I get it, but, you know, do I hinge everything I do on those? No, not really. The proof is you guys, you know, you guys buying the beers and, you know, buying our beers off the shelves, and that means more to me than any medal could ever mean to me. So, consumer first, man. Consumer first.
I'll tell you guys, we have a great price on this beer tonight by the bottle, $7.50.
Wow, I would jump on that as fast as I can.
Tomorrow,
It's $12.99 in the stores. Right.
you talk to your bartender, answer my question.
It's $12.99. It's $12.99 retail right now. So I would buy every bottle he's got, and if not, I might buy every bottle.
You guys tonight. Tomorrow morning, that beer gets made.
That's a cool thing. That's a very cool thing that he's doing. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of cherries?
French Morello cherries. Morello. Yep. Morello. Morello. Mhm. Yes, ma'am. It's like a 2-liter bottle of soda. You know, you open it up. What I have is on the wine bottles where you can screw the thing back on the top. Do the same thing. The cork will never fit back in there, but get one of the wine things where you could, like on a wine bottle, where you can close it up and, you know, tighten it up.
Guys, do we have any other questions about the beers? Well, first, before we ask questions, you guys know I like to do this. Let's start with the white ale. Show of hands, which beer was your favorite tonight?